Welcome to VoteProPot-Cast, the award-winning cannabis news podcast brought to you by VoteProPot.com. Here are your hosts, Phil Adams, Jay Britton, and Andrew McCreadies.
When it comes to weed, it pays to follow your nose. We'll tell you what we mean by that. Hard times for hemp growers are only getting worse, unfortunately. And Jay's got the latest state updates. Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to VoteProPot-Cast. We're going to get started first.
Uh-oh.
What?
I just got a message. My dispatcher just called. My order's ready. See ya.
Great.
Well, what the hell? So it's you
Looks
and
like
me.
it's you and me, Phil.
Oh, hell, man. Oh, no, he's back.
So it's curb pickup only, so you had to, place your order?
Yeah, I'm back.
They did?
It's really cool. They sent me a text message, and I'm holding this up to the camera. No one can see it, but it's a QR code. So I pull up to the dispensary. I hold my phone up to the window. I don't even roll my window down. It shows a QR code. They scan it.
Through your window.
And I wait in line. It goes through the back of the building out to the front
And did they
exit.
just chuck your order into the window from like 6 feet away?
They yell out an amount of money. You hold it out. They grab it. And then they just, drop it in your
cash, yeah.
I rolled down the window to just drop it in the passenger side, just throw it in. They threw it in, and I took off.
All right.
Well,
Great.
with the coronavirus happening, what's going on this month?
Well, here's a lot of people around town now. The big cannabis expo, the annual expo in Vegas, that was scheduled for the 21st of April, was canceled or postponed. I know we were going to do a big live podcast from Washington, D.C. on 420, the National Cannabis Festival.
Yep.
We were going to be involved in all those events. All that got canceled.
Yep. Unfortunately.
And it's unfortunate. And across the board, all these not only are all the business trade expos, but so are all the cannabis cups and all the social events as well.
Yeah.
So,
So we're just going to have to move them to later in the summer and get back to it.
I don't think large crowds getting together are going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah.
Well,
we can see that again.
We'll have to see what happens, but we can catch up with we're not going to miss the entire. Of course, now another way to think about it is that this year 420 is for a whole month. So
yeah,
well, that's what we were saying. That was a big deal.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be a special 420,
right?
But all the events have been canceled. Now the other thing I'm seeing, I'm starting seeing some rumors or some little some talk about people doing events online. There's going to be some online things to celebrate 420, which I'm sure we'll see, but I don't know. I mean, they're going to be nowhere near the event. The other thing, the big thing about 420 is, and this is every dispensary in the country, 420 is normally their number one sales day of the year.
That's right,
man. Because
but with the sales booming the way they are now, I read yesterday Colorado's sales in the last 2 weeks were up 60%.
Wow,
absolutely.
Yeah. So
that's a good month.
Case. Yeah, and that's everywhere. The whole country is, people...
Everyone's hoarding.
Everyone's hoarding, yeah. They're afraid they're going to run out, sure.
Well, didn't they say, was it in California or Oregon? Where was it they said, the governor's saying that medical cannabis might be an essential industry, but recreational is not.
Right, yeah.
So they're saying recreational dispensaries close down.
Now, this would kind of undercut an effort that's going on in the Senate now, quite honestly. And this is from Normal. Apparently, a group of senators, all Democrat, it looks like, and including a number of 2020 presidential hopefuls, Cory Booker, Christian Gillibrand, Kamala Harris, who else? Bernie Sanders, and I think Michael Bennett. Wasn't he a candidate for a minute there?
Yeah, for a minute. Yeah.
Well, they have gotten together to urge the Senate leadership to include cannabis businesses for assistance in the economic assistance that's available from the SBA, the Small Business Administration.
Federal assistance. Yeah.
Federal assistance. Now, and they wrote a letter to the Senate leadership, and just 2 weeks ago, a representative from the Trump administration acknowledged, with the exception of businesses that produce or sell hemp and hemp-derived products, and that's according to the Farm Bill. Marijuana-related businesses are not eligible for SBA-funded services, and that's just, administration policy. Senator said, we strongly support ensuring that SBA local loan programs are made available to all cannabis small businesses. However, if they're having boom times
that's what I was
during all of this, I don't think this is going to go anywhere. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I doubt it because, first of all, there's a line there between the federal government and, it's illegal. It's still federally illegal. So, they can't even get businesses with banks. Everything's cash, so why would they let them get loans? I mean, not that I agree with it by any stretch. I'm just making that
but what you're saying is that it's all pursuant to the fact that it is still federally illegal.
It's the law.
Right.
Well, how would they pay them? If all these cannabis companies can't have bank accounts, what are they going to give them? Dole out cash?
Yeah, really. Send them an envelope.
And if they write a check, who do they write? They can't write it to the companies because those companies don't have bank accounts.
Right. So
supposedly.
Well, seeing seeing the way things are going, maybe it's the hemp industry that's going to have to bail out the government.
Yeah, right.
And I don't think that's a far cry. I mean, I think there is the potential there with reasonable taxation levels that this is going to be a long-term boon to the federal government. So I think the money's going to go the other direction.
Yeah.
But
if anything, the cannabis industry is doing well.
The THC
is doing, but the hemp industry is not.
Yeah, exactly.
The hemp industry was struggling beforehand, and in fact, before the coronavirus really started affecting business and industry in the United States, there was a hemp company in Kentucky. They're one of the largest hemp companies. It's a company by the name of Atolla Holdings. And they were one of the earliest players in the Kentucky hemp industry. And not only do they do CBD, they do hemp fiber and hemp superfood, which means they're processing the seeds, hemp seeds and hemp oil, which does not have CBD in it. So, but anyway, they filed for bankruptcy. A multi-million-dollar company in hemp. Just the hemp industry is not what they thought it was going to be. Yeah. So now, and what happened was, and we've talked about this before, I mean, all these farmers said, well, I want to grow up some hemp and make money off the CBD stuff. And they ended up literally growing 100,000 more acres than the demand required. So they have all this biomass and all these hemp farmers just sitting on this stuff and no one's buying it.
I think the problem is, these people assume that because THC cannabis was so huge and selling so well that therefore, CBD hemp is going to do well. And I think you've made the point before, Andrew. I can see hemp doing very well in the industrial side, but the
CBD,
I don't know.
CBD. I mean, there'll be a market there, and it's going to be big, but
not like THC cannabis. No,
right? Not like THC. It's like O'Doul's non-alcoholic beer does sell, but nowhere near as much as Heineken and Corona and
everybody wants a buzz, man.
Right. That's what they want.
Right.
It's the American way.
Right. So, but anyway, but with this coronavirus bailout, I think maybe this might be an opportunity for some of these hemp farmers to say, wow, do you dodge a bullet, maybe recoup some of their money? Because a lot of these hemp farmers really probably didn't have a lot of money into it.
No.
Granted, there's that company, Atalo, that granted they had millions into it, and they said that they are anywhere between $1 and $10 million in debt.
But Andrew, they would qualify for federal assistance under this, wouldn't they?
Right. They would. Right, they would. But it'd be a godsend for these guys.
Right.
But in some cases, it wasn't the coronavirus's fault that they're not making money.
But I don't know, Andrew. You mentioned to me recently how much it costs to buy hemp seeds. So maybe they do have a lot of money in it. I mean, if it costs...
Well, I think a lot, from what I understand, it's probably like about maybe... I think it's like $20,000 an acre to invest in when all said and done, minus the labor.
I see.
So, which is a fair amount of money. It's a lot more than corn.
I mean, think about it. You got $250,000 in it if you got 10, 12 acres. I mean, that's
right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a big chunk of change for a lot of these farmers. They're not walking around with money falling out of their pockets.
Right. But most hemp farmers didn't grow 10 acres. Most of them were 1 or 2 acres.
Okay. All right.
Because they realized, and plus, for a lot of farmers, first time out, 1 or 2 acres was a lot of work. I talked to some hemp farmers, and they said, man, If I would have known it was going to be that hard and that labor intensive, I wouldn't have done it.
So it's labor intensive because cannabis is a kind of persnickety plant. Is that what you're saying? It requires
the
a lot
ones that
of
are growing
maintenance?
CBD.
Well,
They're growing the CBD, so they got to grow it as if it was like medical cannabis. It's got to be that quality. So they got to make sure there's no female plants, and if you didn't, have a
male plants,
genetic strain, male plant, you have to get rid of the male plants. If you had shitty strains, because a lot of people bought feminized seeds, and if you pay enough money and from a reputable company, chances are all the seeds you buy are going to be feminized.
So this
plants.
is interesting. What is feminized? How do we? What is that?
That means when you plant a seed, it's going to grow to be a female
how do they
plant.
do that? Did they just select it out?
They use mirrors. I believe they use mirrors.
Mirrors?
I'm not sure. Yes. I don't know how they do that.
You seem to know a lot about this. I don't know. How do you know if a seed is going to produce?
Actually, what they do is, and this is
mirrors.
They actually use the Rudolph strain. They use that, and they're able. That strain has tendencies to. That's also how they make the auto bloom. They don't have to worry about the sunlight, the amount of sunlight. It's just after so much time, it's going to bloom.
Right.
That's why they breed with the Rudolphs and some of the other strains, and they get these plants that produce female seeds that are also auto bloom, or in addition to.
Not to mention the fact that these farmers, if you get a hot crop, and you got a high THC, you're fucked. It's gone. It's done.
Yep.
Yep,
so there's a lot, like you said, the labor, it's very labor intensive, and it's not like, growing tomatoes where you might get a smaller plant or a bigger plant, but you can still sell tomatoes. You grow hemp and it's hot, you're screwed.
Well, some states are a little liberal about that. Some states let some farmers get up to like 0.7% THC and not have to destroy their crop, but said sell it outside the state.
Of course, now this is Mitch McConnell's backyard, isn't it?
Yeah, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us for Vote Pro Podcast. If you enjoy the show, we'd love to hear from you. Send us your thoughts at votepropot.com/contact or send us an email at podcast@votepropot.com, and please give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. If you'd like to be part of the show, call our message line at 240-257-2441. Tell your friends about us and be sure to like, follow and share us on social media. Just go to Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn and Twitter and do a search for Vote Pro Pot. Now, back to the boys.
Yeah, so Jay, what's happening in other states?
Well, I got a few of them for you here today, and I didn't think there would be that many this week just because, the legislators tend to be a little busy right now with other stuff. But so let's start with Utah. Republican Governor Gary Herbert has signed legislation into law, House Bill 425, expediting medical cannabis access to certain patients with a doctor's authorization. So the issue here is that they passed a law to make medical legal, as you know, in Utah, but they're really dragging their feet getting the licenses out. So you go, same as you guys had to do in Maryland. You got to go to a doctor or an approved medical who
doctor, yeah,
basically gives you a prescription.
Right.
So what they've done here, the rule change permits patients who possess a valid recommendation but are still in the process of waiting for their state-issued registration card to have immediate access to cannabis. So to date, the state regulators have only issued just over, I think, 1,000 cards. And there are, 10,000 people waiting. So basically, this law says that as long as you have the prescription from your doctor saying you're legit, you can go for now and get your prescription filled, let's call it, while you're waiting for your card to come through.
Well, so that's exactly how it works in Maryland. I mean,
is it?
It took a couple of weeks for me to get my card, and in the meantime, I had a piece of paper signed and documented by the physician, and the dispensaries looked at that and accepted it. That's what you used. Okay. Yeah,
but you were authorized. You're authorized. And then once you get authorized in Maryland, then you pay the extra $50 and they'll send you your card.
I think the way I read this in Utah is you got to have a card, and they just began operations in March,
right?
And the issue here is with this Corona stuff, the offices aren't full to complete all these cards and get them out. So they've done this as kind of the impression I get is kind of an emergency thing.
So in Utah, it's not just it's authorization and card are one and the same.
Yeah, that's right. Separate provisions of the bill establish a legal dosage limit for medical cannabis products that shall not exceed 20 grams. So what's that, like 3/4 of an ounce or so, a little less?
In how much time?
Of THC in a single dose. The language,
a little over half an ounce.
The language further mandates that a patient's 30-day supply of unprocessed cannabis should not exceed 113 grams by weight. So that's Utah. West Virginia. Almost
heaven.
Though initially enacted by lawmakers in 2017, the state cannabis access program is still not fully functional, and a lot of that's because they've just got a lot of opposition in the state body over there. Republican Governor Jim Justice just signed legislation into law expanding the types of cannabis preparations that will soon be available to qualified medical cannabis patients. The issue here, and we've, I think, discussed this, you couldn't smoke, couldn't have flower.
Okay.
Right? So the way the law was set up is you couldn't have any dry leaf, and now you can.
Okay.
Now we're going to your state, Maryland.
Woohoo!
All right. And this is House and Senate lawmakers have advanced legislation to the governor's desk to permit qualified patients access to certain medical cannabis products. You ready for this, guys? On school grounds.
No way.
Yeah, so imagine that when we were in school. So this is Bill 617.
Oh, I don't have to imagine it, Jay.
Yeah, no, but I mean,
we were
legally.
getting high right out front.
Yeah,
every
we were.
fucking day. Not even in the parking lot, in that grassy area in front of the parking lot.
Yeah,
we were. I swear that it was a joke. We had a hall monitor to come. Remember the hall monitor?
Yeah,
Jack,
yeah. Tim.
Well,
when we went to high school,
Tim,
we had cigarette smoking, legitimate cigarette smoking.
Right, it was a
area.
smoking area.
Well,
Right, because when we were in high school, you could smoke cigarettes
different
on
time,
campus.
different time.
It was a Wild West back then, man.
And so we would go out to this cigarette smoking area and smoke pot. We would smoke pot out there.
Yeah.
Constant.
And I can remember sitting in class and pot smoke come wafting in the open window.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I remember one of Mrs. Ziegler, the speech teacher, she would just say, rolling her eyes, going, I can't believe you guys. What the fuck? You're at school smoking pot. You don't. Wait till after school. You're trying to learn here.
Very, very different time.
I know.
Very
different time.
House Bill 617, this is Maryland, back to the Maryland article, permits either designated caregivers or designated school personnel to administer medical cannabis to students while they are either on school property, participating in school-sponsored activities, or on the school bus. So
on
you
the
can light
bus.
up a tube on the school bus.
Once again, never mind.
I think this is more kind of for, epilepsy patients and stuff. So we shouldn't make light of it.
No, it's serious stuff.
Yeah, very serious. Lawmakers in multiple states, including California, Delaware, Illinois, Virginia, and Washington, already regulate the administration of and use of certain cannabis products. Now, I'm in Virginia, so I can tell you, don't read too much into that. In Virginia, it's very low, no THC, CBD only. So a lot of this does pertain to CBD products, just to be fair.
Yep.
The next state is Maine. State officials have granted conditional approval to over 30 applicants seeking licensure to operate commercial adult use cannabis businesses. Under the state's licensing regulation, facilities must be duly approved by both the state and municipal officials before becoming operational. 16 of the conditional licenses are for retail dispensing operations. Another 10 licenses are for grow facilities. Now, voters in Maine approved the legalization of cannabis sales back in November of 2016 with a statewide initiative. But lawmakers have, dragged their feet, especially the Republican governor, Paul LePage.
Okay.
So they've just had a hell of a time getting it through, getting things up and running there because there's so much opposition. This is what happens often, which, as we've discussed many times, when, a ballot initiative passes and the people say, yeah, we want this, but you've got legislators who don't want it.
Or digging their heels, right.
Digging their heels and make it so difficult to get the thing moving along. So,
what do the people know?
Yeah, that's exactly.
Bunch of fucking voters, man.
Oklahoma, our favorite state.
Woohoo!
The last state we ever thought would. Do you think the coronavirus? This is just me. Will the coronavirus pandemic and related economic disarray that we've seen here in the last few weeks, I wonder if it'll lead to accelerated legalization of adult use. I mean, that's a question that's been floating around out there. Republican Oklahoma Representative Scott Fettgator of Okmulgee, Oklahoma, said this about furthering the recreational marijuana bill that he's been working on. Quote, if you did a full access program and put the revenue in a general fund, it relieves some of the taxes on the medical program, the medical patients, and put the tax over to the recreational side, you could potentially add $100 million to our budget. So this is a Republican,
right?
And he's making the argument that, look, we need to legalize adult use here in Oklahoma because it's going to generate so much revenue. And God knows we're going to need it here in the next few months with, the economic disaster that's being caused by the coronavirus.
Absolutely.
So I wonder if that will spread around the country.
I think it is. I think it's creeping around the country. But Andrew, you had you covered something like this last time, didn't you?
Well, actually, some people are saying Governor Cuomo, who just passed the New York State budget, missed an opportunity to put legalization into that budget because he said it probably could have passed.
Well, he's been a little busy.
There's a lot of people. I agree with Jay that this is an opportunity to advance legalization. Because a lot of people are going, we're about to go through some hard times, some tight times. Let's legalize it because not only is it going to generate some tax dollars, it's going to make some jobs. And right now, guess what, guys? We got 20 million people out of work.
Right.
And it's going to go up.
And I think that's been the argument for a while. And it's really just a matter of let's face facts. People are smoking marijuana anyway.
Right.
They're there.
Right.
The use, you're not going to affect the usage of marijuana all that much one way or the other. What you are going to affect is keeping people out of jail and pumping some money into the government. That's the only thing that's going to change here. It's not going to change people's smoking habits.
No, not at all. Good point. Exactly.
And it's proven that in Colorado and in Canada, teen use went down after adult use was legalized.
And the only thing that is going to change as far as our smoking habits is getting better quality, more regulated weed in people's hands.
Tested, right. The other thing that point he makes, and I think it's apropos here, is that this whole social distancing thing has all but destroyed their ability to go out and get signatures for the ballot initiative they were working on.
That's what happened in Nebraska.
Yeah, so exactly. And that's what he's saying is, look, this was a done deal. We were going to have no problem getting the signatures we needed to make this to the November ballot.
And then,
we're not going to be able to do that now because we can't even knock on people's doors. So, so anyway, that's Oklahoma. But I wonder if, my point was, I wonder if it doesn't pertain to the whole country. So that's my state update, gentlemen.
So I agree with you, Jay. I think the coronavirus is going definitely had an adverse effect on legalization moving forward.
In the short term. What do you think it'll do for the long term?
That's the question.
It might open. That's a very good point, Phil. I think it's going to open up a lot of people's eyes and going, guys, now it's ridiculous now that we don't do this. Now we've got to do it.
It's a financial thing.
That's what I was thinking pretty much exactly. Yep.
Well, I think the bottom line is a lot of politicians and legislators are driven by money. And this is an opportunity for them to fill the coffers.
Jay,
why not?
You're so cynical.
I know. Yes. Guilty as charged.
Politicians driven by money. Come on.
When marketing marijuana, a lot of the things I know, I was working with a hemp company at one of these expos.
Right.
And when people walk by, I would open a jar and say, "Here, smell this CBD hemp flower." And they smelled it, and it smelled like real dank, real danky, really good
skunk weed,
commercial medical weed. And everyone's reaction was, "Whoa, damn, wow, really?"
Yeah, a lot of people don't know hemp smells
great.
Really.
Yeah. Well, the CBD hemp does.
That's
so
what I mean.
What that proves to me that the aroma is what really matters. So what a company has taken that to heart, and now they've come out with scratch and sniff marijuana packaging.
I think it's a great idea, man.
I think it's great.
I wonder how accurate it is.
Because so many states you can't open it. You have to.
It's got to be sealed, right?
Flour has to be sold in an airtight container, so you can't open it.
Now, of course, you have to take it on faith that the aroma that you're smelling on the scratch and sniff is representing,
Right.
It's the representative slice on the bacon package. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I wonder how that's going to work. Yeah, that's interesting.
Right. Well, it's probably pretty easy because they just had to take an actual sample. It's not like they're recreating the aroma. They'll take the actual aroma and do it.
So, all that's a great idea, though.
It's a great
I would
idea.
check that out because, people do buy weed on base. I mean, even when it was the only game in town, it was just like, it is good.
Yeah, absolutely. What is the first thing you did back in even the old days when you get
a snootful.
Get your nose in there and go, yeah, that's great. Or no.
Smell it, yeah. Well, same with wine.
Right.
You always smell your wine.
Those are great ideas, man.
So,
your armpits.
Well, folks, we really are happy that you joined us today, and we want to encourage you to... No, we are. I'm happy.
Andrew's the one being cynical now.
No, he's saying that with a smile. He loves each and every one of our listeners carnally. So...
Give me your address and I'll come over and thank you in person.
And we hope you enjoyed it. If you do enjoy it, we hope you share it with a friend. And if you have some time, and Lord knows we all do, go online and give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Really will help us. What else would you recommend, Jay?
Send us an email at podcast@VoteProPot.com. Call our message line at 240-257-2441. And join our Facebook group, please. You can interact directly with our followers.
Yeah, we're getting some pretty interesting interactions on there.
Yeah,
I know you've been following
are.
it, but it's really pretty interesting stuff going on there.
You can post articles, so go check it out.
And there's so much going on, even in these pandemic days. A lot going on in the cannabis industry, so we really can't touch them all on our podcast. So we share a lot on social networking.
Yes, we do.
So please come to our social networking platforms and share your ideas and thoughts and dreams, or stupid human trick, whatever you got. Just share it with us. We would love to see it. So go to Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn and do a search for Vote Pro Pot.
Man sits in a prison cell, has been sitting there 10 years. The judge he brought the gavel down, the jury shed no tears. He can't support his family, his children do without. He's been inside so long now, he don't remember being out. What's he in for anyway, with the murderers and pimps? Cops caught him with a joint one day, he's been in there ever since. Oh, how long must this go on? This ain't justice, it's just plain wrong. Oh, it's just plain wrong. A man sits in his mansion on the Caribbean shore. He got strippers in the hot tub, a machete in the drawer. He's got more money than Elon, got more weapons than Iran. He got rich the old-fashioned way by selling contraband. And everything he has, he owes to the DEA. The last thing any drug lord wants is prohibition to go away. Oh, how long must this go on? This ain't justice, it's just plain wrong. Coffee in the morning, glass of wine with a meal, valerian root at bedtime, or some tea with chamomile. Sugar on your cereal, a fine hand-rolled cigars. Things no one thinks twice about, they just are what they are. Pep up with some ginseng, relax with a beer. Pop a couple Xanax and let them melt away your fears. Lots of stuff that's legal makes you feel a certain way, but smoke a little sativa and they'll haul your ass away to stay. marijuana's bad for you. It'll fry your brain like eggs in a pan. It's what evil people do. So that gives us the right, they say, to ban its use and sale. So don't you let us catch you, son, or you might end up in jail. Just remember, America, when we lock you in your cells, that we're doing this for your own good, to save you from yourselves. Oh, how long must this go on? This ain't justice, well, it's just plain wrong. Oh, I said, this ain't justice, but it's just plain